for joining the session. So today we'll be walking through how teams can play a central role when you are doing Azure DevOps in your organization. So just before moving on to the session, I just want you to quickly participate in this survey so that I will know how many people are using DevOps and how many are using Teams, and just scan this particular QR code, or maybe let me put the URL in the chat over here so that you can participate. Yeah, in the chat I posted the URL. So just I will give you a minute so that you can respond to that particular survey. Okay, so okay, looks like most of you people are already using DevOps, and also most of you are using Teams. And yes, Teams is not that much well integrated with the DevOps. So I think at the end of this session, you will be able to see how different workflows related to DevOps can actually integrate with the Teams, and you will be able to use Teams as a central place in your DevOps processes. So means, as you already know DevOps, I just want to touch base on what is the DevOps very quickly, and then we'll simply move on. So here we are trying to, there are a couple of components in the DevOps. One is you have the people and processes and products. So here the distance between the developer and the operations, we are kind of reducing. So that if you remember in the earlier days, if you want to do any release, it used to take a lot of time. And then that itself used to be a big activity. Release used to be a big activity. Now, once you establish this DevOps processes, then it is just everything is kind of automated. Once the code is ready, you can simply click on a button and it goes to staging environment, and from there, based on the processes configured, it can quickly move to production. And also once go to the production, again, we have a feedback loop where from production, we can get incidents and proactively monitoring the production health and trying to take the corrective actions. So we'll touch base upon all of these steps and how we can actually integrate those processes into the teams. We will look over them in this particular session. So at a high level, if you try to see a product development life cycle, so it is something like goes like this, means not exactly similar to this, but you will be having a conceptual phase, and then you will be fine tuning the concept, and you will be developing the exact scenarios how that particular concept has to be implemented in the product or in a particular project. So once you got the fair idea about the feature, then we will be having this specification, and then we'll move on to implement, and after that we will be having this release cycles. So here we will be having different types of variations based on the organization, but roughly we can say that this is the process which we will be following at a very high level. So if you see the DevOps integrations with the teams, today we are going to concentrate on Azure DevOps, but Teams is also having DevOps connectors with a lot of other third-party services. So here I'm trying to list down few of the things over here, which you can actually integrate with Teams. But for today's scope, it is going to be Azure DevOps. So before moving on to the Azure DevOps, the first thing comes to mind is the team structure. So let's try to see how Teams is going to help in setting this particular team structure properly. So here, I know we are all using Teams, and in Teams again we got the channel. So I see a lot of people getting confusion about the concept of the channel, and also Teams, and there is again a group chat. So there is a little bit of confusion over there. So usually, if you try to compare, that with particular, we are all comfortable in using email services, right? When you log into the email, today the email is so much overloaded that if you want to find out a particular mail, you have to search, you have to scroll. It will be because of too many emails. Similar way, if you come to the Teams, if you are using just one channel for all the conversations, again you will kind of have trouble in relating or to getting to that particular thread where the discussion happened. So here in Teams you can have the channels. Channels are synonyms for the topics. So based on what topic you want to have conversation about, you can create the channels for the topics. Like for example, for specification, you can have the specification channel, and then all the announcements can go into announcements. And if there is something related to testing or the feedback, you can have channels related to that particular specific topic. So channels you will be structuring based on the topic. And then this is the I know there is a lot of this slide is a little bit busy showing a lot of trying to show a lot of information, but we'll see in hands-on how we can actually have a proper Teams structure. So here we are trying to show in a typical product engineering team. So there could be different types of topics which you have to have conversations around, discussions around. So here I'm trying to list down the topics over here based on which what are the types of discussions can happen, and also I'm trying to list down the apps and the tabs which you can configure in this particular channel. So let me quickly take you to the Teams demo where I will try to show you how this can come into the actual thing. So let me quickly stop the presentation and reshare my desktop. Just give me a second. Okay. So here I'm sharing my Teams screen. So let me give it a minute so that screen to be refreshed. Yeah. So here I have a couple of teams over here. One is Project Next. So here a few companies will be doing consulting where there will be more about a project. It is a project delivery model, and few could be product engineering companies where they are more about products and the features. So here I try to create two teams over here. One is Project Next, mostly geared towards a project, and then related to product development, I have this Simply Commerce team. So where we have these different types of channels which are created. So here, let me quickly, I know everyone should be knowing how to create a team, but let me show you the templates which has been released very recently, if you, in case you missed it. So here, once you try to create a team, now we are started showing these templates over here. Let's say, for example, if you want to create a team for DevOps, once you select the DevOps, you will be seeing the different types of channels. It doesn't mean that you have to use the same names, these number of channels, but once you, as a template, it is providing this, but once you start over here, it will give you an opportunity to customize them. Like here you have this customized channels. So here you will be able to change the name, and uh, and also you can remove these channels, and you can customize them. And after giving the team name, and one more thing which you can do is here you have the classification setting also, where by default it is showing as confidential, but in your case It could be general or highly confidential based on the type of team you are trying to create. So this is going to help when implementing data loss protection policies, or retention policies or archival policies. Then this classification is going to help. So by default, it is going to list as confidential. Similar to DevOps, if you try to see the other templates, like you have, if you are managing a project, then you got this managed project. Similar way, there are different types of templates. So based on the need, you can use the corresponding template. We are constantly adding and updating these templates. So you will be seeing time to time new types of templates over here. So now, right now, I'm not going to create the team because I already have it. So I'm simply canceling it out and coming back to the project next. So once you have the team structure in place, right? So the typical journey starts from the planning phase. So earlier I had shown you a product life cycle where the initial phase is the conceptual phase. So let's try to imagine that we are working in a project called Project Next, and then there is a payment gateway integration which needs to happen. For this payment gateway integration, now we need to develop a feature called UPI payment processing. Assuming I am playing a role of PM over here, so my first step is going to be to put together a draft around this particular concept. So here I created one file in the file section called UPI payment. UPI payment is already there over here. So I'm going to use this. So once I have this, there are different stakeholders with whom I have to discuss and finalize the feature. So I'm going to quickly set up I am in the planning channel. So this planning channel is primarily meant for planning, where either it could be requirement development, or it could be sprint planning, sprint planning. So all those things can happen in the planning channel. So in your case, you can actually think of having a separate channel altogether for requirements itself instead of clubbing it in the planning. But if it is a small team, then you can use planning itself to do this requirement development also. But otherwise, you can have a separate team like here, Simply Commerce PMs, which is primarily meant for program managers to do the requirement development. And here, based on what module you are doing, you can use that corresponding channel to do this planning activity. So just for the demo purpose, I'm going to initiate the conversation here. So I'm just clicking on new conversation, and I'm clicking on the format icon, and I'm saying that UPI payment gateway support. So for UPI. So here I'm going to attach the document. I'm going to say browse teams and channels. It's already there, but just for the reference in the conversation, I'm going to select this particular document. And I'm going to post it to my stakeholders. So once I post this, I'm going to, saying a message saying that can you please review this document. I can post the message in a threaded conversation, and then as a next step, I want to set up a meeting with stakeholders so that we can have discussion and close it. So I'm going to click on the schedule meeting button over there in the conversation, and I'm going to give some name to this UPI payment. And I'm setting up the meeting for 3 o'clock over here, and as this is going to be a single meeting, I'm not saying does not repeat over here, and then it's already selected project planning. So, and if there is anything which I want to have as an objective, I can specify in the notes. So I'm just clicking on send over here. So now the meeting has been scheduled in this particular threaded conversation. So now for this particular meeting, I cannot start it now, because if I start this particular meeting, then the current meeting will be ended or will go into hold. So let me otherwise use a browser window to have this. Otherwise, let me quickly show you, how just before this particular session, I simply created one of the feature called fraud detection, where I scheduled a meeting, and then after scheduling the meeting, typically some conversation will happen, and during the meeting you might want to have a recording available, so that in future, if you want to refer to what is the context of this particular feature, what is the discussion happened, if you want to specify some KT related to this particular feature, then this recording can be used. So during the meeting you recorded, and the recording is available in the same thread. And then during the discussion, there could be few meeting notes which you will be taking, like what are the points to be taken care. All the meeting notes are also kind of aligned with this particular thread itself, and there are multiple meetings or multiple recordings. So once you have all these recordings, now as you can see, if you are referring to a single feature, then you got a single thread over here, all the discussion related to this particular feature. So once everything is done, now we have a very good developed feature. Now the next step is for me to create a user story, so that I can take it forward to the development team. So from here, if you see, there is a more options over here. I'm coming back to this UPI payment gateway support. From this thread, if I move the mouse above, I am getting this more options. So once I click on this more options here, let me minimize this. More options here. Once I go to more action, here again I'm seeing see more. Now I'm getting different actions over here. So as you can see, there are different I have a connector for Jira also over here. That is why you are seeing different buttons over here. But for Azure DevOps, I have this create work item, which is coming by virtue of integrating having this Azure boards connector. So once I'm clicking on this create work item, now it is going to give me this dialog box, using which I can actually create a feature. So I'm selecting the feature over here, clicking on next. Then it is going to give me a detailed box where I can select the area path, and if I want to give any description, I can give the description. As you can see, there is a link which is being inserted. So from tomorrow, when someone is referring to this particular feature, if they want to see what is the discussion happened related to this particular feature, they can simply click on that link, and the link will redirect them to this particular conversation, so that there will be a good traceability from a specification development till the end of this particular specification development is completed. So now I'm going to give here title as UPI payment gateway. I'm just clicking on create. So as you can see now, to do the most of my work is happening only in Teams without switching any apps. I'm not launching any browser or not navigating anything. So now I have a reference to this particular Azure board work item user story. So I'm just posting it to everyone so that it is there for everyone's reference. So now I had added this user story, my backlog items. So now the next logical step for me is that to do the sprint planning, right? So once I add this particular to story backlog items, here in the planning channel itself, I have a tab over here saying that next team storyboard. So if I click on this particular tab, so I'm seeing this storyboard over here, and I should be able to see as you can see here, I'm able to see different types of user stories. So for some reason, I don't see this storyboard. Okay, so this is the UPI payment gateway integration. So in interest of time, maybe usually it will kind of show in the storyboard. So now once I have this in the storyboard, now I will be able to move the item from, by default, it is going to be uh, uh, in the new item, and I will be able to change the status here. So directly from here, new to active. So once I specify active, automatically the user story is going to move to the active pane. So once I have this, now I want to create maybe effort estimation, right? So when I want to, before going to sprint planning, as part of the sprint planning, we will be doing the effort estimation. So let's say, let me try to schedule a meeting again in the planning itself. So here in the top right, you are seeing this meet option. Once you open this, I got this schedule meeting. So okay, I think let me do it again. So I think earlier I created a feature. So feature won't show in the user storyboard. So it is the user stories. So let me click on create work item again. And now let me click on user story. And UPI integration, create. And then let me post this. Now come to the storyboard. Okay, as you can see, this UPI payment integration has shown up. So now let me come back to the pose. Now I'm going to schedule a sprint planning meeting. So I'm going to click on this schedule meeting, and I'm going to say maybe we are planning for September 1st release sprint planning. So September 1st release in planning, and I'm inviting the team over here, and I can specify the schedule over here, and I'm clicking on send. Now the sprint planning has been scheduled. So now the team has come into the meeting. So usually when we come into the meeting, we'll click on this particular meeting and click on the join. So I can't show that workflow. So here, once you are in the meeting, now the next step is for you to see the sprint dashboard, right? So once we click on this particular tab right from the teams, we can see what are the backlog items for which we are going to do the planning. So we are going to move this UPI integration into active over here. Now we need to do the estimation for this one. So as part of estimation in sprint, usually we will be doing some, few people will be using poker card game of thing, where we will be giving couple of cards, like different buckets of estimation, saying that 2 story points, 4 story points, or 8 story points. If it is too big, more than 8 or 10, it is a too big a item to take consider in a sprint. So usually it should be between 1 to 10. So here, as part of when we are in the meeting, to play this poker game, again, what you can do is there is something called forms over here. So if you come to the message extension, you got the forms here. So once you click on the forms, you can simply here you can give the question as UPI payment integration effort estimate. We are going to use this poll for a different purpose, for effort estimate, so that we are going to post this to the team, saying that these are the different types of buckets, where the story point buckets, where the team can choose and do the estimation. So usually the way it works is, once we create this and send it to the team, so now during the meeting, everyone receives this particular form, and now they can specify from their point of view what is the estimate it is going to be. And usually in the effort estimation, whoever gives the least estimation, they have to do the justification of why that is so. And whoever has given the maximum effort estimation, they have to give the justification of why they have given that maximum number, and based on the team's consensus, we will decide one of the efforts. So for now, we are going to assume that we are giving 2 story points and we are submitting the vote. So once we submit the vote, we will be able to see the result, how many votes are there for that particular effort estimation. So here, let's pretend that everyone voted for 2 story points. So now my next step is going to be, I need to update this story point in the user story. So let me come back to this UPI payment. I am clicking on this particular link over here, and I got the story points here. So I'm going to use two story points. And if I want to create a task, I can further go to this particular links, and I will be able to again create a new task from here. But for now, I'm going to simply click on save and close. So we have done the effort estimation of this one. So next, it is going to be which iteration we want to take. We need to scope it to a sprint, right? So here we can use this move to iteration, and we will be having different iterations over here. So for now, we are going to keep it as current iteration 1. But if you want to move it to iteration 2 or 3, we will be able to do that right from the storyboard. So once we did the sprint planning in the planning, the next comes the creation of the task as part of this particular user story. So we have two options. One is we can actually click the link here, as I showed earlier. You can go to the links, and from here you will be able to create subtask related to this particular user story, or you can go to the sprint board. Again, sprint board, we are using web connector over here to host Azure boards sprint board view directly in Teams. So from here we will be able to see what are all the scoped items for particular iteration 1. So if you want to change the iteration, you can actually use iteration 2, or if you want iteration 1, you will be able to do. So here we are seeing only user story. So here, if I want to create, I should be able to create the task directly from here. Or let me come back here and see why this UPI is not being shown over there. So this user story, move to iteration. Let me try iteration 2 and sprint board. And I can change to iteration 2. So as you can see now, UPI payment I'm able to see in the iteration 2. So for this particular one, now whatever task I want to create, I can simply click on this plus button and click on the task. I can see implement web UI payment. So I created the task. Now who is going to work on this one? I'm going to assign to that particular person, and it is in the new state. So like this, we can create the task directly from the Teams sprint board tab over here. So now the task has been created. Now the sprint planning has been done. The next is going to be a day-to-day activity of implementing the code for this particular task. Right, so let's say we are going to implement this. So before going to the code part, let's come back to this development team, and our next step is going to be, as part of the Scrum model, we will be doing this daily stand-ups. So when you want to do a daily stand-ups, again you have this meet option over here on the top right corner. So here I'm going to click on this drop down button and schedule a meeting option over here. And I'm saying we are doing it daily stand up for a sprint release 1 daily stand up. I'm going to schedule this one and send it to the team, so that now team knows that there is a daily stand up. I will do something went wrong. Okay. And send. Yeah, so now the daily stand-up has been scheduled. Now every day at that particular time, team can actually meet by clicking on the join over here. As part of the meeting, whatever notes they are taking, they will be able to take in the meeting notes. Or here, what we will be doing is, as part of the daily stand-up, we have to discuss about what are the tasks we are working on, what is the status, what are the blockers, what help is required from the team. So when you are doing all that particular discussion, you need to access certain information related to the sprint. So here we have the sprint view tab over here. Once you click on the sprint view, when you are in the meeting, you will be able to see that particular iteration related user stories which are scoped for this particular iteration, and also you will be able to see the task and their status. Let's say, for example, we are working on this particular task, we can move from one bucket to another bucket. If this is finished, we can move it to resolved, and if we have to create a few more tasks, we can use the add task and we will be able to create new task. And let's say we want to update this task with how much time we spent on this particular task. We can simply click on this task link over there, and we can specify, let's say we have given 16 hours as the original hours. So far we have worked for 4 hours. So we can specify, we can update all this information related to the task directly from the teams. So now let's say, so when you are conducting sprint meetings now, you can directly use Teams itself to view the sprint board, and also you can update your daily task directly from the sprint board. So let's say now I'm going to work on some code related to this implementing web UI. So I'm going back to this Visual Studio. Let me go back to, let me open Visual Studio. So I have this, I'm just opening the Visual Studio. There is a sample project which I created. So I'm just opening this sample project. I hope you will be able to see in a short while Visual Studio. Let me know if you guys are not seeing the Visual Studio screen. I opened the Visual Studio screen, and I'm changing some code over here. So I'm just updating some sample text in a web page, pretending that I am developing a web page for UPI payment gateway integration. So I made these code changes. So apart from Teams, my life is going to be in Visual Studio as part of the code development. So once I do the code changes, my next step is going to be, I need to commit them. So I'm going to go to the Solution Explorer and Git. I'm going to commit these changes. So here I'm giving as UPI payment gateway integration. So once I do this, I'm clicking on commit all. So now the code changes have been committed. Now I'm syncing these changes to to my server. I'm just clicking on this push so that my local changes are pushed to the server. So now I am working on a dev branch over here. If you see on bottom right corner over here, I am working on dev branch. So this is my working branch. So based on your branching policy, probably you will be working in a user branch which is specifically meant for you, or based on the branching policy, it keeps on varying from team to team. So in this case, dev branch is the working branch for me. And once I'm done with my changes, I need to merge these changes from dev branch to master branch so that the code changes what has been worked on can be released to production or for testing as the first step. So once I push these changes to server in a dev branch, my next step is going to be, once I'm done with the changes, I need to merge these changes to master branch. So for that, I need to raise a PR request. And as part of PR request, I also need to get a code review done before merging these changes. So what I'm going to do is, here I have this pull request button over here. So I simply clicking on this pull request, And here I am going to click on new pull request. So once I click on this new pull request, it is going to take me to this new pull request form in the browser. So here I am going to give reviewer as myself. So here I am giving myself as the reviewer, and I am going to assign this UPI payment integration as the one which I'm working on. So either I can give the user story based on your organization policy, or you can give simply the task against which you developed this code. So once I assign this code changes to a task, I'm clicking on create button. So now the PR request has been raised. Now in earlier times, what we used to do is we used to copy this link and post it in a chat window or through a mail saying that can you please review the code. Instead of that, whenever there is a PR request raised, a automatic notification will go in Teams. So let me come back to the Teams. And as you can see here, the code review channel, it is showing that there is some unseen messages. So it has given this notification. So if I click on this code review, I will be able to see that a PR has been raised, right? And if I want to review this PR, I can simply click on this particular PR link, which will take me to this particular PR, and I can review the code. So I'm going to click on this PR link over here, and then it is going to take me to this PR request. And here if I go to the files, I can see what are the code changes has been done. And if I want to ask him to do some changes, and after that only if you want to approve, then you got this comment button over here. You can simply click on this one and you can specify, can you change this code? You can give the comment. So once you do the comment, and you can assign, this will be assigned back to him and he will be working on this one. So let's say that he has taken the action, and you are going to resolve this particular one. So once this has been resolved, either you can do the approve, or you can approve with suggestion. So I'm going to click on approve over here. So once the PR is approved, now the code changes has been gone. To finish this merging process, I need to click on the complete. So once I click on complete, I'm going to simply click on this complete merge over here. So once I click on complete merge, now the code changes has been merged from dev branch to master branch. Now there is a Azure DevOps pipeline which is configured, which is going to trigger automatic build basically. So now as and when the builds are happening, I will be getting notifications in this build and deployment channel. So if I come, as you can see now in Teams, build and deployment channel is highlighted with bold color, saying that there are some unseen notification. So here I'm going to click on this channel to see what are those notifications, and I will be able to see that a certain build has been triggered and build is going on. And I will start seeing the notifications related to this particular build. And here in build and deployment channel, I also have this build and deployment dashboard as a tab. If I click on this dashboard tab, I will be able to see all the releases and at what stage that particular release is. Like for example, if you see this release pipeline overview, I'm able to see that in dev environment there is release 22 deployed, and in QA environment release 22. So you're able to see which environment is having which release deployed. And I'm also able to see that release 22 production deployment is pending approval. So if I come back to the post, I will be seeing, right, so release 23 is the one which got triggered now. So if you come back to this step over here into the dashboard again, release 23 is just now created. Earlier this dev was showing as not deployed, but now it got deployed. So dev is something which is automatically getting deployed so that you can run your test cases in the dev environment. But once the test cases are successful, then you can move the move the release to QA environment. So QA environment is a little bit quality controls will be there for QA environment. So that is the reason you want some approval process to be there, so that if someone is trying to deploy a release in a QA environment, so and so person has to approve that release, then only it can be deployed, so that you can maintain the quality of that particular environment. So here you are seeing that QA approval pending on you. But again, if you see in the post, you also see that approval process has flowed the message directly in the teams. So now again, let's say if you are working on something, you will be automatically getting a notification, and then you come to this channel and you see that someone has triggered a release on QA environment, and you will be able to see what is the release, what are the changes, what is the particular branch which is getting deployed to that particular one. So based on this, you will be able to take decision. So here either you can reject it directly from Teams, or you can click on approve button. So for now, here I'm going to click on approve button. So once I do that, so now it is automatically going to start the build a release deployment on the QA. So if I come back over here in the QA environment, now it has been queued, and in a short while this will also turn into green. So this way you can actually bring the approval processes into Teams itself. So as you can see, most of the workflows are we are able to perform directly from the Teams. Now, as you can see, now I used only two applications. One is Teams and another is Visual Studio. Visual Studio or any code editor, that is the one tool which we will be spending most of our time doing the code changes and build and this Teams is another tool which we will be spending most of time as part of the conversations. So once this particular deployments has been done, now let's say related to production, once let's imagine that the release has been moved to production also. Once the production release happens, time to time you have to keep monitoring the proactive monitoring the production systems. So if you see, come to this particular production channel, so this is the place where we will be having conversations related to production environment. And here we have dashboards over here saying that production dashboard. If you see, here we are getting directly the dashboard, Azure dashboard in the Teams, and we are able to see whether there are any Azure outages across the globe wherever our application is deployed in all the regions. For those regions, we are directly getting the view in the Teams itself. So this is here we are showing only one widget, but you can have different types of reports over here saying the health of that particular systems, like using the app insights. You will be able to generate the dashboards and show it directly in the Teams. So from the Teams itself, you will get a picture of how the production systems are. Or let's say when you are debugging or when you are deploying, you want to know the deployment architecture. Then again, we got this Visio, using which we developed this deployment architecture, and we are able to see how the deployment systems are. So let's say if you are debugging a particular issue in production and you want to if you are new to the system, or if you want to zoom out and try to see how the system architecture is, deployment architecture is, directly from the Teams, using this particular reference, entire team can reference how deployment architecture is basically. So like this, you will be able to perform different types of workloads. And let me show you in day-to-day conversations, time to time, you want to, let's say, for example, you want some particular bug is there in a particular release. That particular bug fix happened, but let's say in release 23, the code changes haven't gone to the production. Now you want to ask your colleague, about a particular bug or maybe about a particular release. Then if you come to this new conversation, so before this, what we used to do is either we will specify release number saying that then based on, or maybe bug number. Now we will copy that and go to Azure DevOps or some tool where this particular information will be there, and we will search there to get to go to that particular release or the task. But here using message extensions here on the top down, here you are able to see different types of extensions. So here I'm going to click on, if you click on this Azure Boards extension over here, so in Azure Boards, if I click it, then it is going to load all the task and bugs which I have access to, and I will be able to search for these tasks also. Let's say, for example, I want to talk about this particular task, saying that what is the maybe let's say I'm the Scrum Master and I'm asking the team, saying that what is the status of this particular task. Maybe I can simply select that particular task and say that call out a particular person, saying that in this case, let me say, can you update me task status, something. Now as you can see, now there is a rich this we call as adaptive card, because there is a rich set of information which is getting displayed in the message. So directly from here, by looking at it itself, the other team member will understand what we are talking about. Just imagine if you are asking him saying that what is the status of task 50, then he might not be able to relate what we are talking about. Let's say like this, you have different types of integrations. I showed you about Azure Boards, but let's say you have Azure repos. Let's say there is a PR, and related to PR you want to have some conversation. If there is any active PR, you will be able to see the PRs here, and you can ping based on by selecting that particular PR. But similarly, you have this Azure pipelines. Let's say related to a particular release or a build, you want to ask a question. Then you can actually select that particular release and saying that you can say that there are issues in this release to the team, so that team knows what we are talking about, instead of simply saying release 22. So we have rich information over here. Similarly, let's say you want to update a particular task, or you want to create a task. You felt like you want to create a task. Then we have these bots also available. If you come to this search button over here, by doing this @mention, I can say that Azure. Let me say this Azure Boards. Once I do that, either I can search for a particular work item, or I can create a work item. So if I click on create work item, it will actually open this pop-up, and let's say I want to log a bug. Now just imagine without this, we launching a browser, navigating to multiple clicks to go to this particular space and then creating a bug. Now you can simply select the bug, and you can create the bug directly from the Teams itself. You can jump to that particular task very quickly. So I'm going to cancel this out. Similar way, if you want to search for a particular.
Kiran, sorry to interrupt. 10 more minutes, Kiran.
Yeah, sure. So you can search for different items similar to by clicking on this Azure Boards, and you can let's say I'm searching for this particular bug. I can search for the bug, and by simply selecting this, I can directly jump to that particular bug. So similarly, there are different types of bots over here. So if you do @mention and do the Azure, you will be able to see different types of bots over here, using which you can invoke them and search for the information, pull the information. And another thing which I want to show you is that you have Power Automate. So in the Power Automate, you can deploy. Let me show you Power Automate screen. Just let me come back to. So here I'm going to office.com, and in office.com I have this Power Automate. So now if I go to Power Automate, there is a integration connectors available from Power Automate to Teams and also Azure DevOps and also HTTP. Different types of connectors are available in Power Automate. So the workload I'm trying to talk about here is that a couple of things. Let's say you want to
Hey, Kiran, Vignesh, sorry to interrupt. You have 10 more minutes left.
Yeah, sure, Vignesh. Yeah. So if you see the template over here, I'm just going to walk you through a few templates. I'm just clicking on templates over here, and let me show you the type of templates in available. So if I click on Azure, you can see that there are different types of DevOps, or let me say DevOps. So here you got different types of templates available. Let's say, for example, whenever you got a mail, you want to create a work item, or whenever certain activity happens in the production. Let's say you want to implement a health service, something like you deployed a API, and if SLA is falling below 99%, you want to get notified so that you can check what is the issue. Then you can quickly spin up a Power Automate flow, and you can keep it as a scheduled flow. And for every 2 to 3 minutes, it will be checking health service of your API. And if it finds there are any issues, the way it can check is either you can write a health API, or you can if you are using App Insights, then this particular Power Automate can actually pick up the App Insights logs and see how the SLA is. And if the customers are experiencing downtime in this particular API, and if it is falling down below 99%, then you can create a urgent message, and you can post it in the Teams, so that respective team members are alerted, saying that there is some problem with the production systems. Similar, these are kind of proactive ways of doing the production monitoring and integrating them with the teams. Similarly, let's say you want to trigger a build, right? You can either use the Power Apps, or maybe if you come to this particular build and deployment, here we have few more. Let me show you a few more dashboards. If you come to the release pipeline, you will be able to see different types of releases. So from here, if you want to create a new release, you will be able to create the new release directly from here. And let me show you a few more dashboards saying that, let's say you are doing a code review. When you are doing the code review, you want to know what are the review checklist which you need to be ensured. So here we kind of pinned this code review checklist. And similarly, let me come to the development. And let's say when you are developing, you want to quickly refer your database architecture, then you have this pinned account database architecture as a tab over here using the Visio. And the same way, maybe if you want to quickly refer to your application architecture, you can actually use this application architecture tab to quickly refer. And you have this MS Flow bot. This is the last one which I want to show. So if you come to this MS Flow, you can say that list flows. I'm just clicking on list flows to show you what are the different types of flows available. So here you can see this project next build. Let's say, for example, I want to trigger a build, right? So this is one way. Means one is earlier I showed you can use the web connector where you are hosting this release dashboard. From there you can do that, or you can use this you can create a flow which can trigger a build, and from here you can say run flow, and you can say to here second flow is the project next build. Once you do this, a build will be triggered, and automatically a release will be triggered, and from there the deployment will be started. So like this, you can use the flow bot to do your build and deployments. So now if you see here, whatever build we had triggered, we can see that it has been triggered from here. Now earlier whatever I demoed, the same thing happens now. It means after build is successful, automatically create a release, deploy to dev, and then deploy to QA. But before deploying to QA, wait for the approval. Once again, the flow happens. So with that, I have finished whatever I wanted to show. As you can see right from the conceptual phase where we envisioned a particular feature captured in the feature, and we walked through the entire process of sprint planning, daily scrum, and also code and code review, and then build and release, deployment, and production monitoring. So if you see all these phases, if you see, you are actually using 99% of the time only two applications. One is your code editor to write the code, and another is Teams to perform all these DevOps related workflows. If there are any questions, yeah, we can take the questions. Now I'm done with my presentation.
Thank you. Folks, you have just 3 more minutes left here, so Kiran, please plan according. Next session will start at 3:30.
Okay, sure.